Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. As always, I'm here, Mick, the game caller Gledel, from right to left or left to right as you watch. We've got young Joe Me the Money, we've got Jimmy the Mystic Mac, and on the far end there, it's not Paul Hollingwood, it's Craig Show Me the Money Harrison. Craig, unbelievably, we've got a lot of new viewers and they don't know who you are, so Craig... 2 minutes. Who are you?
Who are you?
What can we go from the bottom? You know, a successful
You've got
businessman
2 minutes.
Rugby League
Craig, no, I've got a lot of friends.
Footballer, you know.
Craig, just quickly, I've got a lot of friends, Damien, Brad, and people who watch it, and they're like, we don't know. You've got 2 minutes now. Sell yourself.
Well, it might, without being a bit arrogant, Michael, I don't want to sell myself because I'm a quiet, reserved kid. You know, the days of me charging about being that person.
Can I do you 2 minutes then?
But
he grew up on the streets in an housing estate in Doncaster. He used to kick an empty pop bottle because he couldn't afford a football.
Do you know what, Mick? I'll tell you something here. This is. I'll give a little bit. So yesterday we went to Brett, a friend of ours, and he lives near Howden, which is near Goole. Brett's a big fan of the show, used to be a rugby agent, went to be a football agent, now he's into research, telecoms, I think. So, I'm trying to get a plug to my sponsored show. So, I went yesterday to a factory which we worked at as a kid. So I left school very early at 15, went to work for Dad. We had a waste paper factory in the day. And I've not seen that waste paste factory. We bought the old ICI building in Goole. So if anybody knows it, it's quite famous in Goole. We bought it off the company called ICI. Were massive in the early 90s, maybe late 80s. And I've not seen that factory in... And I told the story to Brett and them that in them days, when you had a business, to buy the ICI factory, it'd been 250 grand. That's a long time ago. And I can remember Dad walking in, and my mum were quite a volatile. She was a good character, but she could dish it out if it were on. And he come in and he sold the dream of putting. It took 3 years to build this dream house called St Anthony, which is still there today in Doncaster. And he told her by the end of it that it was worth 120 grand, but he wants to take 80 of it out for equity to buy it. So I can remember my mum saying, "You you can't put us under that much pressure," and he did. He thought it was the right move for the family to. So the first 3-4 years of being there, the debts were that big, we didn't think we'd get out of it. We did, we managed to, we call it make it through the rain, and we spent like 12 years. But I drove there yesterday, and I found myself in tears, and I've not done that for a long time, because I lost my dad at 52 with motor neuron disease. And I saw my dad with his Piccadilly sandwich with top off in day like he used to do, and I'm thinking, so I'm sat there, man, he thinks I'm nuts, I'm driving on in absolute floods now, and I don't know if other people have done it, but if you get a chance to go back to where you've got a memory like that, my God, it were heartbreaking for me. And it's a new factory now. I think it's a new factory, and it's we had a great time in Goole, some characters there.
Well, there you go. No, good story.
And I ended up being assistant coach at the football club with my friend John Reid. I did it later on in life.
Which football club?
Goole Town.
Oh, Goole Town.
Yeah, I was assistant there for 3 years with the football. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. But some characters Goole.
Well, there we go. That's Craig Harrison. He's done a lot more than that.
That
was a little bit of a snippet.
You missed that, Marbella.
Oh, God.
Craig's dancing to Tamala Motown. I've seen the videos. But no, thank you for joining us once again. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button. So, before we go into Super League and Championship and League One, we're going to focus on the Rugby League World Cup. So, we've got the final group game this evening. It is Papua New Guinea against Wales in Doncaster at the Keepmoat Stadium. By the time you probably come to watch this, that game is probably done and dusted. It's not mathematically impossible for Wales to face England at Wigan on Saturday, and we want to try and be respectful to John Keir and Wales, and they certainly put up a huge fight in their 2 previous games against the Cook Islands and of course Tonga last week against St Helens, but they do have to win by 38 points or more. So before we go into that game, we'll just quickly give you a bit of an overview of what's happened this weekend, and then we can talk about the quarterfinals which are coming up. So Friday night, New Zealand 48, Ireland 10. We'll start with you, Joe, because apparently I get accused of you're Mr. Invisible and I go straight to your dad, but you know what, I don't think New Zealand were at the best. A very, very gutsy, determined display by Ireland. I think we've seen that throughout Certainly an improvement for me on what I saw in their recent game against Lebanon, where the ill discipline ultimately has cost them that quarter-final place against Australia.
I was at the game. Jimmy Mack sorted me out some tickets, thanks Jim.
Thanks to Big George for that.
Yeah, Big George King we got the tickets, so yeah, I had a brilliant time, good game. I think they put up a good fight. They had a bit of a rough start, to be honest with you. I think they just had a start, and then I think once that happened and they got the 2 tries, I think it was just too much for them to claw back and forth. New Zealand had all the field possession, all the attack, and then Ireland got a few chances, made the most of them. But yeah, I think it was just too much when they had the slow start. But they built up and they had a good fight and they made themselves proud at the end of the day, I think, Mick.
Jimmy, your thoughts on that game? Because for the first 20 minutes, Ireland good account of themselves. It was very difficult to realise who are the All Blacks here, who's won the World Cup previously, and obviously Ireland, although they have a lot of experienced players in this World Cup, they're still classed as one of these emerging nations on the international scene.
Yeah, I think you're right. That they give a good account of themselves early on, didn't they? And could they have done an awful lot more? I'm not sure. You know, the Kiwis are just relentless, aren't they? Brutal. That halfback, you'll have to help me here. The halfback who came in, it was his first game. Joe? Yeah, the New Zealand halfback, it was his first game.
They've both got vacant faces. They look at him. Our tattoos have failed again.
I'm struggling to keep all these new names.
Don't ask me to pronounce some of these players, because my player of the...
He's got a really simple name.
He's done it on
Big words, mate.
But anyway, the halfback, it was his first game, and someone will help us out. He was superb, wasn't he? Robbie Paul listened to him at half time before the game, and he was very hopeful he was going to be the missing piece. The Kiwis have looked a bit clunky, to use the word that everyone's using when teams are struggling to get it together, and he seemed to be. I'd imagine he'd keep his place now, and he'd be the one who hopefully holds it together for them in the upcoming quarters and hopefully semis for them as well against the Aussies.
Well, it was interesting what Michael Maguire said afterwards. You know, he's happy, but there's so much more that he expects from New Zealand, because, yes, without being disrespectful to Jamaica, they've not really been tested. We saw a little bit in that first game against Lebanon, where I know we're going to talk about the quarterfinals, but Lebanon, oh my word!
Is it Lebanon or Lebanon?
Lebanon.
I like to think, Lebanon.
Just like it's Salford, not Salford.
Salford.
But Craig, you must be happy. I mean, George King, the senior twins.
Toby.
Yeah, they've...
Rob Malone.
I know we don't want to focus too much on what happened last week against the Cook Islands at Lee, but by and large... Lebanon, sorry. At Lee, it's been a good tournament.
I'm going to find that lad's name.
We'll ban him phones. Do you know what? I think Ireland, Mick, will be disappointed.
Yeah.
You think they'll be disappointed?
Yeah, I think throughout it all, I think they came into it with a chance of a quarter-final. I think they'll be devastated. I think they put together this team and they're a little bit going off at Ireland. If you want a bit of a... Certainly not, I think, it's not me. But I think they went away from... I mean, Brad Singleton never got picked. Kyler Moore, I think, put his sent forward.
You mentioned that last week.
Before his broadcast game. I think there were quite a few others of the older school. Don't think, it didn't help him. Mickey McCall, he played in the last one or two and whatever. But I looked at the team sheet and there were an edge there with Bentley, Toby, George King, Innes, or Lewis, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, that's as good. And I looked all around the pitch. I think they'll be devastated, honestly. I really do, I think. And what this is what I'd like to know, and people can advise me on it if you know the correct procedure. Rich Strulis helps me with it. If you do a review of your World Cup and how much, I don't know if they get paid a lot. The lads don't get paid a lot at Ireland for the World Cup. It's really, our sport's all about you going in and you're doing it. They might get $250 a game or something like that, just to give people an idea. It's certainly not have 6 weeks off and you'll become 50 grand richer. That doesn't happen.
Not in rugby league.
No, they're away from the families. Maybe England get a few quid and the Australia, they'll be on 10, 20 grand a man to win it. That'll be bigger. But they took time away. I think the review, Mick, is probably 6 out of 10. I think it's a little bit. If you know your rugby and didn't think they should be disappointed, then they don't deserve to be there, because they should be disappointed. They had a good enough team to give that a proper crack. It's a chance missed, and if you review it and you go away, here's one thing, we've got to make a rule. We did it years ago on a show, Mick. If England are going to take the first pick, do you know what I mean by that? So the first pick of all the players, if you get picked for England, you're not going to play for Wales, Scotland or Ireland. That's what historically happens. Mm-hmm. Historically, if you don't get picked, you jump out and you dive onto one of our own countries because you look for your grandparents.
Scotland, Wales, Ireland,
and I think we missed the boat with the Four Nations. I think I always said to the players, would you play for Ireland if you could play against England every year or every 2 years? They all said, yeah. They'd be more reluctant to do that. And maybe the Great Britain never worked last time because they did it on a whim. We know what they did. They did it 6 months notice, blagged it together. They never sold the product. That helps as well. If they know they can play for Great Britain and propagate the Aussies a game, they would all play for their own countries. Every one of them. Now, if we're going to spread the game, that has to happen. That has to happen. Like, you have to get these people who say, no, I'm going to play for Ireland instead of England because I've got a chance of playing for Great Britain every 4 years if it's sold correctly. Ireland could have Ben Curry. You think about the next, the players that actually could, if they chose, it'd be unbelievable. Scotland and Wales, let's be honest, need help.
Correct.
They need help. It's not, people say, Jamaica's journey is different, Mick. It's so brilliant. When that lad scored try, when Bish scored, it's the moment of all last week. The prop who got one this week.
Andrade,
yeah.
When he went underneath the post.
Absolute sensation. The crowd, everyone seems to be happy for Jamaica. But if I was Scotland and Wales, who've been in 5 World Cups, I won't be happy about them clapping me with sympathy vote. Oh, we've got beat 17, I've got to try. I'd be like, well...
Unless it was against the Aussies.
Yeah, but look, you know what I'm saying? We're better than that now.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to look at it from Rugby League, we've got to look at it and say, how can we make sure these improve? Well, there's only one way, is if you do an all nations and let them have a crack at it. And if England don't want to do it with top players, let the Knights play as England and make it a bit fairer. Put it as development. Yeah. Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and you'd see some right games. That's my opinion.
Well, what you're saying, Craig, is pretty much what IMG are forcing the clubs into, which is why the Luke fixtures are going, the Summer Bash is going for Championship, Magic Weekend's going for the Super League, because they literally just won home and away, 22 games, 11 home, 11 away. That is what they want, because they want the grand final at the end of September, October and November, internationals moving forward.
Brilliant.
So hopefully, touch wood, everything sinks in the international calendar from 24 onwards, so we do get more meaningful games.
Brilliant,
it doesn't have to be the England national team, because we suspect the Ashes are coming back, so by all accounts, let's have the England national team playing Australia in the Ashes, but the England Knights, your young players, let them play against your Jane Bentleys and Ireland and Wales and France, and it's still the England Knights. I think there's a lot of buy-in there. And as we saw recently, as last year, I think it was 2019 before COVID struck, I covered the England Knights Jamaica game at Headingley, and there was 8,500 people there. These are the meaningful fixtures. What Jamaica wants, what Wales want.
Put Jamaica, what a great idea.
No, seriously.
By me.
You could put France. You could have France in there. I
thought about that, Jamaica.
No, I'm just trying to...
If you made it bigger.
Because coming out of this World Cup, when do Jamaica play next? When do Wales play next? Exactly. There's going to be a hunger and appetite. The players will be. Who knows?
Someone asked that when you posted this morning about any questions for the show. I think it was
genius, isn't it?
I think it was Simon. He was saying,
Knights.
Well, he was saying, how does the international game kick on from here? And I think you either have a 4 or 5 nations and invite Samoa and Tonga and try and make it the creme de la creme, or you do the home nations and invite some of the more developing ones. Yeah. England Knights up against
we get to watch an England Knights team which has your Mikey Lewis's in, and we see where that goes against us.
You would, Mick, if you think about it, I'll ask you all this. We've brought the biggest endorsement advertising agency to take over our game.
Correct.
Why would we not have no tournaments if you've got them?
Well, I think
these are the best sellers in the world.
Yeah.
So what's the one skill they have? They might not be brilliant at knowing the grassroots and now improve that. That's where they need the rugby league. They need but surely to God they can put a competition on. Surely we've been waiting for it. Shane Miller owes Oxon. We've got the tops on. Shane's put a proposal, like he's told me a couple of times, to the rugby league to do the Origin. And he said, let me have it. Self-service, we'll do everything, we'll put the promotion on ourselves, we'll sell the tickets. And for some reason, there's a reluctance. Another one for IMG is, I'm not going off the international, we're on about it, but we've brought these on. If we're going to give half our sport to these, IMG, to help this sport on the basis of no fee unless they get the new Sky deal, well, they're going to need as many new ideas as they can, and listening to people like this show and listening to the fans and saying that's what we want. And I know, if you said to me next week, do you fancy Doncaster, do you think I'm going on?
No.
Doncaster.
You're saying this show, like.
Yeah, Doncaster and the smaller clubs, York, not saying smaller, beautiful stadiums.
Stadiums, yeah.
Why don't we play them there? We could pick 6 beautiful, smaller stadiums, 8,000 capacity. I think we could do it, Mick, and I think we could get capacity at each one.
You said Doncaster and then small stadiums?
Yeah.
Doncaster's like 40,000.
No.
Doncaster Rugby.
Oh, the
No, just as Rugby League.
The Keepmoor.
Yeah, but it's
Keepmoor's about 14,000,
15.
15.
Yeah, Rugby.
It's only 15, and I'm saying we could, historically, England and Wales nearly sold out when we had Doncaster. We got the game, we nearly sold it out. We went round and got the tickets sold. We did that much promotion for Nigel said to us, if you help us promote it, there's so much. We were flying everywhere, running around with. So I'm saying to you, use that as a...
Yeah, you'd use Lee, you'd use Doncaster.
They're brilliant, wouldn't
use York, yeah, they're the great size. But are we saying really, I mean, I'd like to see a 5 nations with England, Aussies, Kiwis, Tonga, Samoa.
I think that's separate.
Yeah, I'm saying 5 with
that's
Samoa, Tonga, Kiwis, Aussies, England is for, as it stands, probably
As
the
the
top 5.
brand.
And then have England Knights, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, France,
Jamaica.
and then get Jamaica in there as well.
Definitely.
There needs to be 2.
The only thing is
needs to be
France
2
might
of them.
not be happy with that, I think.
Well,
France would.
I think they've got to accept where they are, aren't they?
France could win it. If he's promoted right, France could win it. France might be favourites.
I'd have France in with the England Knights, Jamaica, Wales,
Yeah.
Scotland,
I think England Knights
Ireland.
probably would still be
But
favourites.
just a final point on Ireland. If you're asking me to be honest, where did I predict they're finishing when you actually look at that group they were in? Group C with New Zealand, Lebanon and Jamaica. I had them down to beat Jamaica, but actually didn't have them beating anybody else. So that was just purely based
Joe
on...
made a comment, didn't he, that he thought the Pacific forums were all that Lebanon would be Ireland. But we thought
on the show, I think
We
thought you all said Ireland, and then I thought, then I said, I've watched a lot of the Aussie YouTuber shows, and all of them are saying, Lebanon are actually really good, and obviously just had names from their New South Wales competition that we didn't know
how many
about.
Super League players played for Ireland?
Quite a lot, yeah. It was the whole...
So
it was
really,
most of the
and-
time.
and that game, the island.
Well, they
Yeah,
had
if
Luke
we
Keary.
look at Jamaica and we say Jamaica's a championship sort of League One,
Some non-league.
little bit of Super League with Ashton
Amateur.
Goulding, and obviously those players that are unattached, Kieran Rush, of course, Huddersfield Giants Academy, is sort of a Championship League One sort of hybrid.
Scotland, Wales.
Scotland and Wales are probably Championship, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And then you've got Ireland, which is probably like a Featherstone, Wakefield, very much.
I'd say
more like
Super
I'd say above.
Would you?
Well, there was
From the back, you've got...
we had Luke Keary and
Well, I know.
Luke
know.
Keary, James Bentley,
But I'm talking-
twins
Kings,
wingers,
Myler.
Myler, the whole
Robin Millern, Liam Byrne.
I'm not
Liam
being
Byrne,
disrespectful
the other
to
one,
Ireland. I'm just saying,
the
if
one
you
that-
were
the
going to
other
play
prop from
some,
NRL.
I don't think there were more than Joe Keaton, only 3 championship players in.
I'd have Ireland in a lower Super League spot. That's what I was saying. That's why I compared them to
You
Wakefield.
were saying that you thought there were more
Featherstone,
championship
yeah.
players.
No, I was saying they're in between a Featherstone and a Wakefield.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say. But anyway,
I think they're above, and they're miles above that though.
I think you're wrong there, man.
Well, I suppose the way this is my little thing on the groups. That game, the Lebanon Ireland game, was 4 points on the handicap. That was the game to decide who came second, and it was a bit like with the England Samoa game. I don't know how they'll work out the fixtures, but I would have loved to have seen Ireland Lebanon as the final group game, when both teams had 2 games to get into it and get to the best. A bit like England and Samoa. It might have been better for the neutrals if that had been the decider for who came top. I don't know why they didn't play that Ireland-Lebanon game as a third game, give time for both teams a bit more time, and it would have been a bigger, you're going to get more bums on seats because it would have been the decider for who goes through, and to be fair to Ireland, after losing to Lebanon, they kind of know that the chance of qualification's pretty much gone, and it's very hard other than playing.
You know what? Have you ever been to Dewsbury?
Yeah.
See, that's a lovely little one. If you had Lebanon and Ireland, would you go to some like Dewsbury with 5,000?
Yeah, you'd go bigger. You'd go miles bigger, wouldn't you? The Irish, obviously the New Zealand Ireland game. I think it did 15,000.
Right.
Yeah, just shot 15,000 on Friday night.
Yeah, it was packed. The stadium were packed.
I think you probably get 5,000 who are coming to watch New Zealand with that one as well. Against
that's what Shane said. Shane and a lot of people said to me on the
Doncaster
feedback.
would have been perfect.
A lot of them on the feedback have said Sheffield's new stadium. A lot of them on the feedback have said they'd rather see a small stadium full than a big stadium not for the viewers.
That's what everyone says. Everyone said. There's not one person who hasn't said.
110%. And again, to quote John Dutton last week when we were on the media call, he said if it's time again, he would reassess the venues and the ticket prices. When inflation's running at 10%, it's very tough.
I think I've got what I've got.
He's got quite a few excuses, as John, to be fair, for some of the
and hindsight's
and to back you up, Jim, I think it's shown that this third round of matches has really shown who's not got a chance to win, because I think it's between 2/3 in it, but who's actually got a good chance of that semis and who's going to be close, because I think the best teams have all stood up in this third round. And I think you're right. I think if I disagree with you on the England v Samoa, because that were just a brilliant way, I think, to start off the tournament. But the rest of them, I think you're spot on. Where I didn't think like it should have. That should have been the way. The close match should have been the third match. First off, for ticket sales, because it would have just sold more, because it's more interesting. And then also, like you said, the Samoa looked unbelievable. Tonga, yes.
Don't be making Mick shouldn't have pronounced this. You don't need to take all his thunder here for the fixtures.
I'm not saying the results. I'm not saying
give him a chance to get.
I'm just saying, Tonga looked unbelievable. Australia took it to a new gear. New Zealand took it to all the teams who were up there. England, obviously, all the teams who have a good chance of making that semi-final, final stood up in that third. Obviously, it just took them a bit to get into.
But are we building up? I'll let you do your next ones. But are we building up for the best 4 games you're ever going to see all sell out? Could this be the exciting thing that all of a sudden? Rugby league fans, all of us know what's going to happen now. They're going to crank up here, ready? Well, if you're watching, this will go up. Intensity will go to there.
Yeah.
Now, all the fans who are proper rugby league fans and you're dragging your mates there are all suddenly saying, like I've done this morning, we've got to make a match at least 2 this week and we're whacking. You're going to see something.
Once we go over the quarters, Dad, we've got 2 matches in the quarters. That could be the game.
This is the build-up, innit? So you've got to know what we haven't lost too many players.
Yeah.
Hopefully the intensity's allowed us not to lose 25 players. We want the best players available.
Yeah.
And we're all ready.
Yeah, I mean, we focus on New Zealand, Ireland. The other fixture from that group was Lebanon, Jamaica yesterday. Lee, again, it goes without saying, Jamaica, very spirited performance. But sadly, like you say, Lebanon, they up the ante, up the gear. And there was that period in that first half when I think it was 24 points to 0 after 14 minutes, and that was game over. But look, we saw Jordan Andrade go over just before the end. We saw the Jamaican flags, the fans behind the post. It was magical. It was good. You
missed the best. You missed the best thing about the game. Ashton Golden's half-time speech. Have we all seen it?
No.
You're all looking at me in shock.
I've not seen it, no.
None of you seen?
Sam can run it. If you ask Sam, he'll run it.
So Ashton if you get a chance, Sam, Ashton Golden's half-time speech, they interview him at half-time, and it's one of, if Sam gets it on, it is he goes, we need to stand up, and he absolutely said that we're going in there now and give him all up, because if we actually want to turn up to these tournaments and give it a go, we need to care for not 5 minutes, for 80 minutes and give the best speech. I sat there listening going, oh my God. And obviously they came out and scored the tries, and he obviously brought that intensity into the change rooms.
What tournament he's at?
There's not nobody, if you're picking your team tomorrow, want to have him in your team sheet as the first man among. People said to me, how do you build culture? We're all going to say it, Ashton Golden.
Yeah. Please watch that speech.
He's a full-back, played centre, played wing.
Can we get it up on the computer now?
Yeah, he'll do it for you.
But you guys, I want you guys to actually watch it.
Yeah, well, he's...
Oh, he just said yeah.
I watched Ashton at 16, Mick, at Stanley. Then the right side, Sam Ellis, I don't know if you remember the word
Jordan Lilly,
I love what how do you call Jordan Lilly? You always say the funny, I always like when you say it, when you commentate, you always go, an honourable Jordan Lilly. Lebanon. I don't know, he's always made me laugh when you say Jordan Lilly.
It's for Bradford.
Lilly. And I watched him, and Ashton was the talking player as the fullback playing for England. He then went into the Test series against England, Australia, where the famous centre now, the best player in the world,
Holmes,
played full-back against him. The big clash of it was Ashton Golden v. the centre at Roosters. Oh my God.
Valentine.
No, Rooster, Joey Manu.
No, oh God, Rabbit Toes. Please don't say we don't know. It's just that.
Gagai.
No, the best player in the world at the moment just took away for fitness for 8 weeks.
Oh, Mitchell. He plays full-back.
Yeah. So he came over. He's been playing centre.
He's not.
He came over
no, he's not.
to England as the biggest reputation of an Aussie young under-18s tourist for a lot of years. He was on everybody's lips. We watched him against Leeds in a friendly, and it was like, honestly, it was like watching poetry. Mostly he makes a break at 60 metres and he just glides a lot thinner in. Then I'm on about, oh my God. He then played in the Ashton, Toby King, the lad who's in from Wigan who went to West Tigers this year. So they've got this thing going off 1-all. Test series 1-all. Man of series against Michelle. Who got it?
Ashton.
He beat Michelle. Bloody hell.
Yeah, he got it. Ashton Golden got the man of the series.
Sam's got it here. Let's have a look at this.
We'll put it next to Mike and everyone can listen.
What an amazing first 5 minutes. You got this stadium really up on your feet. So good in attack. Obviously that denied try. It started so well.
Yeah, just ultimately not good enough. You know, it's bitterly disappointing, but I don't know what you want me to say. It's not good enough. We can't come to these tournaments and expect just to do one thing in a game and expect the world to be lit on fire. We've got to compete for 18. We're competing for 5 right now. So we've got to go in them sheds and really have a look at ourselves in the mirror. How do we want people to see us when we finish this tournament? How do we? That's where we're at.
Boom.
Well, we've just seen the video from Ashton Golding, really insightful. He was clearly not happy with that Jamaica first half performance. Certainly, first 5 minutes, very good. What happened then leading up to half time, not so good, but great leadership and ownership of the problem. And he's right in a way, Craig, just quickly. Ultimately, if Jamaica want to be seen as a credible international force, then you're not conceding 24 points in 10 minutes.
You know what, Mick, you could probably ever say that about most home nations, wouldn't you? You know, I said it 3 weeks ago, and quoting what I said then is, would they be happy when you get in the clap, you know, when the fans are appreciating your effort? But as a professional sportsman, is that enough? Wouldn't be for me, personally me. If somebody just give me the golfing clap and great, you've turned up and you're great, you've got beat 60, but amazing what you've done. The competitor in me and the person I am wouldn't allow that. Even if I got hammered, there'd be Ashton's voice, frustration, would be like, no, we're not going to allow this to happen, you know. So, listen, I think it's been amazing that we've got to see everybody, but I think what the old nations do, we've just said it, Mick, they probably just need to go back. They need to speak to ING and get some better options. They need to... Do you know what, Mick, and I've said this for a long time, we at Show Me the Money have probably put our cents forward 3 times to do the managing and the recruiting of one of the home nations. Don't usually sell myself to do things like that, but I've actually, you know what my love of rugby is, and the rugby that grassroots, I want to improve things. I'm probably one of the only few who've actually done it without wanting money for it. You know more than anybody what I've done. So I've said I'll do that as well. We don't want paying, just let us help. So I'd love to get involved, me, myself and the team. Imagine going along and saying, give us Ireland, let us run the managing, let us get the sponsorship deals done, let us get the corporate done, let us get the recruiting done. Start now, and let's go get all the best Irish people who've got the passports, who've got the granddads. Another rule needs bringing in because of what Lewis Johnson's dad said about Jamaica, 3rd generation, 2nd generation. You probably need to bring a rule is if you are play for Ireland, then that allows your son to play, and maybe that you just need to just adjust that a little bit to help the development, because eventually the Irish dads who came over here in the 60s and the 50s, they've all been born in this country, so they'd have to change something, or eventually there's not enough. If we haven't got let me just finish, Joe. If we haven't got a franchise in Dublin which we've pushed for years, haven't we? We'd love to see one, only because it's Stag Do when we go on piss. But if we could get a franchise Dublin, start developing Irish players, amazing. At the moment, Mick, how many Irish-born players play for Ireland?
I think it's just Ronan Michael.
Yeah.
And I'm not even certain on that.
That tells you. Yeah. There's a little bit of a point to it.
Yeah, there's a point, but I disagree completely. I think there's no point doing Scotland because you're not even at some point. I think the results will just get worse and worse because then part of representing your country is that you've got that country pride, you've got that national pride of the people behind you. First off, will the Scottish fans be bothered if it's a bunch of, it'd be like us when the Aussies played for us, we didn't care as much because it were Aussies and you don't feel...
You've been cheering Victor Radley.
What, I've been...
Victor the Trades, he were born in England, one team in Australia since being a kid.
But if you remember, yeah, but that's, I guess, one example and not...
Well, Austin, we could Craggy Chase, we could go on
exactly,
all day.
that's the point. People don't like them.
Okay.
There's a big thing about people not liking them, so I think...
They haven't got the choices, though. The 3 old nations don't have enough players.
Yeah, but if it's 3 or 4 generations removed, I think it should be representative of what your country's bringing in. And that's a tough call.
Well, they tried it in Wales about 8 years ago and they couldn't get a team.
Well, eventually we'll have to go like that if they can't grow it in their own
Remember,
country.
Mick, they did it, didn't they? They started to bring a lot... Well, Wales did it. They brought a lot of the products. When it might have been when they had Celtic and they tried to do it, they just didn't have enough quality to compete at any level.
But I don't mind when it's grandparents because you still have some heritage there. But when it gets 4th, 5th generation, if you're saying that, if your dad played and it's that far removed...
No, I'm saying if you played. I don't know if you've got that wrong.
Yes, if your dad played...
No. If you played, so Ben Halliwell's played for Scotland now 20 times.
Correct.
So Ben Halliwell has a son.
So if your dad played...
Yeah.
Exactly what I was saying.
Scotland?
You shouldn't know.
Oh, wow.
That's what I don't think you should.
I don't know where you get the players from them. You've got some good ideas for that one.
Yeah,
you don't get the players. I think you do have to. There has to be an extensive...
Scotland then?
Well, if that has to be done, yeah, that's what's going to have to be. Well, there's no point having a country where none of the players are from that country. It's just it will get to a point where it's ridiculous.
Look, I think fundamentally we're focusing on the own nations here, but let's look at what for me was a very painful Sunday in international rugby league terms. You've got Lebanon 74, Jamaica 12, Tonga 92, Cook Islands 10. You've got Samoa 62. Matt Parrish finally has Samoa clicking, and who knows? We're going to preview this at the quarterfinals. There's still a chance it could be England and Samoa at the Emirates. You know, what a game, what a rematch that would be. But you know, Australia 66, Italy 6. You know, some of the emerging nations like your Cook Islands, they're being put to the cleaners. We're seeing, you know, those Pacific Islands teams.
Italy are made up of Australian-born players.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
With Italian ancestry.
I'll give Greece the due.
Cook Islands have done pretty well this World Cup, mate. They've done really well. They've just lost. In general, they've competed in all the games.
Joe, I'm sorry. You
picked the last game.
No,
you picked the last game.
I'm not focusing solely on Tonga 92, Cook Islands 10. I'm using Lebanon 74, Jamaica 12, Samoa 6.
The point.
I'm making a point that clearly the quality, and if you're wanting, because listen, one of the reasons I deleted WhatsApp yesterday was, and I won't mention names, a lot of friends in rugby league circles, they've gone up to Middlesbrough, they've spent £70 on the expensive tickets on halfway. At half time, they're like, this is worse than Bradford versus Hull in 2005, when Hull had a man sent off after 12 minutes and Bradford run riot, and I think it ended up being 71 points to 10. Worse than Wigan demolishing Bradford Northern.
There's rock goal in that game, just to rub it in.
Yeah. But these are people taking non-rugby league people.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to the World Cup. We're going to see this competitive game between two Pacific Island nations, Tonga, Cook Islands. They've gone up there. They've all paid the 70 quid. 40 of them have gone on a coach, and this is genuine, honest feedback from people who are not rugby league fans, Craig. They're like, what on earth have we been sold here? And I'm not picking Cook Islands out. Like I say, Jamaica, you know, they have a few harsh results. We know Ireland have had a couple of harsh results. France put to the cleaners, put to the sword by Samoa. I did not have that down as a 62 points to 4 game, Jimmy. That was actually on the BBC. I think it was on BBC Two. So what they tend to do, the BBC, and I've kind of noticed this, these games like your Tonga, Cook Island, and your Lebanon, Jamaica, they're not actually on terrestrial TV.
Clever.
So BBC being very clever, they've moved some from BBC Two and BBC One to the red button, so they're not showing these record blowouts. But look, Joe, Cook Islands, they've had a great tournament. I'm not criticising them. I'm just saying it's clear as day there's a lot of work to do. So while
I am, to be honest, that's what I meant. So I am probably criticising Cook Islands. I think they give in that final game, Mick. I think they've obviously fought.
That's the point. You agree with me?
Yeah, I agree. But I think they've actually had a good World Cup. They should. I don't think that. My overall point is that I don't think that is that bad. I think the Cook Islanders just give in. I think they just give in. The Samoa France won. The Samoan team have had the best game. I think that was we're still here, and absolutely played the game of their lives. Lebanon, Jamaica, I think that one was always going to be. I think the Tonga, Cook Islands and Samoa France games, to me at least, you guys might disagree with me, they were complete shocks. Disappointing that they were such big loss, but both of them were big shocks to me.
Well, I think they nearly doubled the handicap. So if you look at that, the bookies are really wrong. They nearly doubled.
Your problem is unless you do what we said last week, unless you do a Tonga where certain players decide this has to stop, we're not going to play for Australia, we're going to come play for Tonga, and it happened when they got that full house 4 years ago. Famously, there were 100,000 people coming from everywhere in Tonga to watch them, and they suddenly clicked. They could have a top 4 side, and they're going to do it. Samoa have done it this year. If I spoke to somebody about this, say a John Bastian type, and you said to John, how would you get... France have now started better on having their own French team, fully French team, nothing else, who have got experience in playing rugby league. Having Toulouse and Catalans is definitely helping the development of the French player, without a doubt, because they're getting to play more competitive games. I suppose, Mick, unless, again, with Jamaica, we talked about having a franchising champ one. I talked to Bish about it. He'd definitely be interested, so it's something he would think it. Do we do that with Wales, Scotland, Ireland? Is there a way of bringing that in? Is there a way of having coaches from the rugby league? You know it better than me. We used to get £20 million for development in taking the sport. Can we not
from Sport England?
We not put a camp in Ireland, one in Scotland and one in Wales, and say, look, these are once every 2 weeks. These unders 15, 16 camps.
The problem is, Craig,
and filter them into, because let me tell you, some of the best players historically have come from Wales, Scotland. Wales have got a great heritage in rugby league. We could name a few. How many people have played? Libriers. Well, then Yestin Harris, some of the greatest to play. Jonathan Davis. The list is endless. Foster. We have got heritage in Wales with rugby league. They've not got any thingies team to play. We've got North West Wales this year.
North and West Wales.
Yeah, but North Wales are based in Leigh, so
right there you go. So Wales. Do the rugby league in IMG said to improve it? We've got to start somewhere. Let's put some camps, and then what they could do is filter them camps into the clubs. They could have under 16s. They could invite 50, 100 kids every two. Filter it and say, we've got some great kids here. All of a sudden, Irish-born, Scottish-born, Welsh-born are going into Champ 1, Champ and Super League. Maybe that's the way to do it.
I think to a lesser extent, I think they do something like that. To a much lesser extent of every 2 weeks. Well, they do, because that's how the twins got discovered.
The twins got discovered by a camp.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Exactly that.
Were they living in Wales?
Have you spoke to them? Yeah, they're completely Welsh. Yeah, they were playing.
I'm just asking you.
Yeah, but they're completely Welsh. They got discovered in a camp. I think they were Regan Grace in the same one. There were a few of them that all came through together in near the same age group. So I think they do something like that. I just don't think it is every 2.
Why don't they advertise that then? Isn't that a brilliant story there where he's just said, mate, why don't they advertise that?
And then they all got to play against different not reserved under 18 teams, and wow. Wales under 18 played like Warrington under 18s. I think they said different ones, and then the hope was Regan getting signed to Saints and other twins went to Widnes. I think a lot of the team, there were quite a few that went on to sign at reserve and under 18s contracts.
Anthony Sullivan, we could go on all day, couldn't we? We actually could go on all day, couldn't we?
So I think that there is something like that.
Right, well,
I think the tricky thing is that the key is obviously in an ideal situation that the domestic leagues of France, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, the domestic leagues, the standard will improve.
Is the leagues in Wales and Scotland for rugby league?
Yes.
But obviously the standard is significantly lower than
no disrespect. Yeah, you're probably a lot worse than the national conference.
What I'm saying is how it's
totally amateur.
It's for tricky.
Totally amateur competition. Sorry, Jimmy.
It's just a tricky situation. Do we try and focus on making domestic leagues stronger and them trying to keep hold of their talent to strengthen it, or do we try and integrate them into the English system? It's hard, isn't it? Because you need...
The camps work, Joe's right there. If I'd have got Regan Grace and the twins and maybe...
There was one or two...
And you've got players.
But you're saying you probably favour the idea of filtering them as soon as you see talent getting them in the English league, but then ultimately for them to become stronger as a national side, they need the domestic to be stronger.
John, I've always asked John this. Say we've got John who's developed, we'd say up there with most of any bloke.
John Bastian.
Yeah, as any bloke in the history of our game. I've always wondered why John never got a role within the RFL. It's never happened in 25 years. I don't know why, since he went to Leeds all them years ago. And I've always thought if you'd have asked me like John, and I'm the RFL and IMG, and I said, John, how do we get? And he goes, right, if we put camps there, what Joe's saying they do, would that enable us to get some players filtered through our system in whichever area, Jimmy, your idea or that idea, but can we do it? I would say that it'd be massive, especially, and I'm having to work rugby union at the moment, they're on the knees. There's a chance here. I got an article and I'm going to bring it, and it says it's got 23,000 on YouTube, and I think it's something like NRL has destroyed rugby union in Australia.
Correct.
Destroyed it.
Super Rugby has just fallen off the face. No TV deal. It's only streaming.
Wow.
Crowds are down. The NRL is king in Australia.
Right, well, we need to hang on to them coattails. And if we're going to attack, then we've got to think like this, because, I've been asked to go to rugby union loads of times and why we don't get involved. We've always stuck loyal to this sport. Mickey, if we're going to attack, get in now, because if you put them camps in Wales, Scotland, Ireland, wherever, and we can get developing rugby league, make the talents there. I spoke to 2 or 3 clever coaches this week. I'll not name drop, but 2 of them are right on the new school of what's rugby, really on the new school, and collectively they're all saying the same thing: leg speed fitness, leg speed endurance, durability. The 6 again rule: you need to be durable, you need to be fit. They're saying this is the system. I can take any player as long as you've got them attributes. So you could go to these places now. Historically, you can go and say, get me fit as 16-year-old, athletically, and we can develop that talent into rugby league. Before you come to them, Mick, you can now. 100%. 3 high-level coaches. One of them, Rowan Smith, and his quote to me last night, and I said I'd use it on the show. And I said to Rowan, could you... He said, I'll quickly say it, because I did ask him if I could do it.
Well, Rowan's a good friend of the show. And
he's a good friend of the show, and he started laughing when I said, look, I love what you've just said. But we got into it.
So here we go, a bit of a full 80 exclusive, thanks to our good friend.
Yeah, because he's laughing.
Mr. Rowan Smith. Hope you're well, by the way, Rowan, you and the family and the kids.
I put Rowan looking for combinations and how exciting players can improve. And then we put, do you think you can improve older players as well as younger players? That's what the question was. Are you just talking youth? And he put, I think anyone that wants to make big gains, problem is, a lot of coaches don't encourage players to get better as they get older. So they're not pushing the format. He put, know your game, but you can still improve it. That tells me everything that where the game's win, because historically, you look at was one of our favourite players in Championship, and so of it is.
Dave Manning.
Well, I want to say Scott Morrell.
All right.
You know, Scott Morrell,
very seasoned, yeah.
could still have the hands, can still toss the 30-yard, pass the no-look, the things. But in this 6 again world, it's probably tougher and tougher to get a Scott Morrell maverick who could stride about for 15 years and just get away with doing what he wants to do because he's that good compared to the standard. I think the fitness levels... Gale actually rang me this morning and said it. He goes, God, he said, I'm not going to say you're right because I would never do that. I'd rather... He says, but the seniors, he mentioned the seniors, he goes, you look at them now and what you've said, he goes, look at them now, the athletes that are coming on. So we could go into them areas now, couldn't we?
Just a quick one, I'm going to pause you. You mentioned Luke Gale. What's the latest on Luke Gale, Craig?
Oh, I'll say that for a different...
What's the latest? It's a full 80.
Well, quickly...
We've had a few questions.
If you don't mind, you've asked me and we've said you're the boss now, so we're not going to get involved with cutting across.
I think it's a nice distraction.
I'd rather talk about Ibiza or something. That's a distraction. He's... I did a thing last week on the show and said that players who were elderly going towards the end should get what they can. Yes. If that's their choice, because they might not have made the right investments earlier on. Matt Shaw did an article on Luke, and I said the opposite, which is, well, let me explain to people what I meant. If you've made the right investments, you can afford to make the right choice for what your legacy is. If you're 32 and you ain't got 4 houses behind you, take the money. But like Luke has got property quite in a few places. He's got an house in Chester, he's got one in Leeds, got another one in Wakefield. So Luke's all right. His missus has got a good teacher. Luke's got various options. Where do I think Luke will end up? I think Luke will end up at a top 4 or 5 club, and it's because it won't be about the money. And that's a little clue to where it's going. I think Luke wants to... If we can finish off in a good environment where he has a big smile on his face and we get the right coach... This morning he's rang me, he's done 2 hours with your men at Leeds and he's done sprinting and his legs. He just said now it's the first time in about 4 years I've been able to train my legs, and Coops is saying to him, let's build these. And he sent me a picture. You're going to see a different Luke. You're going to see a stronger, fitter, faster Luke. And people say he can't do that at his age. He goes, it's the first time I've actually put any real pressure on my left leg and gone for it. He goes, and I think he'd got 8% difference in strength, and he says we can get that within a month. So designing somebody now, you want them to run. Most halfbacks, coaches now are saying, and it's a good one with Rowan, isn't it? Because I didn't realise till Gale said it. Did he change Rowan and Caesar to run more? Did he change Caesar and what's it called?
Austin.
Blake Austin.
I mean, I think
Gale said they run 50 times more with Rowan than they did before. He said it's obvious to see it any naked eye. Caesar's always been square up and playing. He said, and Austin had got to start playing side with something.
Yeah, certainly Caesar, yeah. But Caesar was back from injury as well, wasn't he?
Well, hopefully for the people who've been asking, there you go. Craig's prediction
Craig just made it sound like he's going to Leeds, but I don't think you meant to, did you?
I'm not saying no.
A return to
there's some romantic ones, isn't there? You think about it. Would I want him in a real world? Where would Luke want to finish off last 2 years? I'd say,
he'd want to come back where he started.
Well,
Bradford.
I'm a bit. You're right.
If there's no money, if he's not bothered about the money, Luke, come back to Bradford. Back to Bradford. Super League Express.
No. I'm going to give you something. You know, romantically, started at Doncaster. Not if they were further up or thingy. That's
then London.
If he did that dream. So if we were Championship, Bradford, he's got history.
Yeah.
London, he's got history.
Yeah.
Castleford, best time of his life.
110%.
You know, best time of his life.
2017.
Yeah. Leeds, unfinished business. If he got the choice, he wouldn't have left as he did.
Yeah.
Hull, with respect to Hull, it's probably the one. I think he give it his best. But I don't think they saw anything of me. I don't think he saw anything of them. I think he got the worst of them. I think they were on about it this morning. We were on about the speed of the ruck and the way they're playing. And he said, you know what, we had a lot of forwards.
But Hull have always been like that, though, haven't they? You called it for a year ago.
I did.
Castleford
the
and
new
Hull,
rules.
they've gone down this route.
And they've got to speed the ruck. And Joe's coach, who learnt us a lot on Wednesday, I'm not going to mention his name, we proper went at it. And I think I got a lot out of it. I did personally, I don't know if Joe did. He said he wants 92, 94 kilos prop. That'll do me. Just give me the speed and the tenacity.
Wow.
And I'll take that against this 110. He said, honestly, that's the way we're going. We won't change it. Give me speed agility in that middle. And if you watch Ashton Golden, who's a fullback,
Yeah.
could Ashton Golden play at middle now? Yeah, he was best middle in comp. He was best.
He's got that physicality,
He's making
he?
60 tackles a game and not missing one. So the answer to a 92 kilo Ashton Golden, could Ashton put 2 kilos and play 80 minutes in middle?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Is that what's going to happen?
Yes, you, Craig. I don't like blowing smoke up your backside, but you said
Don't
about
joke, it's a bit-
You said about 3
gets
years
enough
ago.
of it,
You
Mick.
called it 3 years ago. You said this is where the sport's going. You will not be able to tell a winger, a centre from a back rower because they're all going to look the same and they're all going to be the same in terms of the physicality, the muscularity, and what they're able to do. Moving away from Luke Gale, final sort of point on the World Cup before we preview the quarterfinal. Sorry. The disability England side, I don't know if you watched it, I watched highlights this morning. They beat New Zealand, so they've won the World Cup 42 points to 10 at Warrington. So that was really good to see, the physical disability rugby league team. England, right, I don't know where to start with this game. It was surreal because for 20 minutes it was a slugfest, an arm wrestle, and then, wow, England this 11 different try scorers, a real team performance, Sean Wayne called it, 17 tries. He said, it was in terms of what he wanted, he was happy. He thought that the physicality was there, the competitiveness. He knows there's a lot of room for improvement, and I still think England will need to improve, depending if it's Wales or P&G at Wigan. But one player I want to single out, and we mentioned him at the start of the tournament. I don't know what his odds are now, Jimmy, but he's up there. He's up there with the leading try scorers. And you know what? I was going to give one of the Tongan players after that performance yesterday, but I thought, we'll give him some toffee because he scored 4 tries and he had 2 assists. And if he didn't assist, I reckon he would have walked and gone for the record. He's obviously scored 4 and he's equalled the record.
We're about now.
We know we're on about Dominic Young. But yeah, just to correct someone from the NRL who's a Newcastle Knights fan actually
Sam, can you roll some footage, Dom, when it comes to...
Honestly,
just so people...
a Newcastle fan actually messaged me and said Mick is still under contract for another year. But the issue is with Newcastle, while his offence, all his offensive, his attacking qualities, they're still saying his defensively.
Told you that.
He missed so many tackles, and that's the reason why he's in limbo.
Lead right on.
Well, Melbourne Storm, to be fair, if you read the Aussie press, Melbourne Storm are really interested in Dom Young. So, listen, if Melbourne Storm are seeing something in Dominic Young, in fact, I think Newcastle Knights are crazy. He's 21 years of age. He's only just gone 100%. Over there. Get him in that system. Get him developed because
they've chosen to play him that early.
Honestly, I look at Dominic Young and I just look at him striding, and I'm like, he could be what Jonah Loma was for England Rugby Union. He could be the poster boy for the next 10, 15 years.
Well, I'm going to give you some credit with this field, don't you think, with the twins as well? Don't you think the twins and Dom have come through
No, I agree,
Andy Kelly deserves absolute,
Listen, Andy Kelly and what he's done with that youth position at the Giants.
It's crazy, isn't it? He's got 3 6'5" wingers, 21, 22.
Yeah, early to the party of identifying athletes rather than someone who's necessarily played since under 6.
Correct. But before we start talking about Dominic Young and other players in that performance, Sean said we can only play what's in front of us. And yes, that second half was quite painful because let's be honest, nobody wants to watch, even though it's England, nobody wants to watch, 92 to 10, 94 to 4. I certainly didn't enjoy that game, I'll be honest.
Well, this is what I think of that, Mick. I think as rugby league hardcore fans like we are, who want to see competitive games and see, what we're hoping to see in these quarters. Yeah. I think there is a lot of people who want to see games like that, and that's young people and kids. If you've got a young kid going to a game, they're not bothered about seeing that Saints Wigan Grand Final at 8-4 or whatever it was. They want to see
Dom Young
tries. So that would have been a perfect game, and I'm not going to criticise anybody here because I don't know what they did in getting youngsters in, but if you want to get young people from around that area, Sheffield, that tiny bit of expansion, and get all the football, it's a football city. Correct. It's a big football city. You want to get football fans converted. That should have been a game where they go, right, we're going to get probably between 15 and 20,000 typical rugby league fans, if you like, and hardcore England fans and Patriots. But why don't we try and get 10,000 kids in there who are going to be excited by seeing a tri-fest and come away wanting more?
If you look at what you've said, that's a great point, by the way, but if you look at like other sports, saying poster boys, Dom Young is the absolute... You could take Dom in any school in country and he you know, our Steph couldn't put a... I watched her game, I said, Steph, you're alright, look like you've had a stroke. And she's like, that's not alright. She went, and she couldn't get her eyes on Dom Young. He looks the part, he's got everything. You look at Jack Grealish in them in other sports, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, this lad's 6'4". This lad's 6'4", element.
That's what I said to John.
And they're so kind.
He's the poster boy.
And they're so kind. I watched him at Jamaica, they're so kind-natured. Rugby league lads are so kind. You know, he sat there with his family, his dad, and he's talking to everybody, and they get him on pitch. He didn't even know we're going to talk on pitch. Next thing he walks up and down, and he's signing this autograph, and I'm thinking, our sport, and IMG, we've got the best at it now, but I've got a question for you. On the other side of that, what standard are Greece?
Well, Greece, to be fair...
Where would they be? Champ 1, Champ or...
Well, I was going to say, I think out of all of the emerging nations, they're arguably the team that have got the most homegrown.
Yeah.
You know, you look on the back of all those shirts, I was behind the sticks.
But what standard? That's not answering it.
I would say high League One.
I would put them with Mick. I would say
high League One.
Mixing it with the top of League One.
I'd go bottom champ.
I think we're struggling to mix it in with champ.
So to put in perspective...
Well, they played Bradford in a World Cup warm-up and it was 34 points apiece, and Bradford played a lot of the young players like your Lewis Camdens, your Miles Lawford, your George Flanagan Jr.
But all of Greece's best players didn't play till the 65th minute.
No, they come on before then, Joe. But it was strange when I spoke to the Greece head coach afterwards. He basically did it in reverse. So no surprise, Bradford shoot out into a 20-point lead. But as the first half wore on,
so Bradford's first team, I'm a Greece.
I think it'd be if we're talking no messing around and chopping and changing, and Bradford are not playing the young lads. I think Bradford probably would win by 20 points.
So let's say low championship for argument's sake then.
I think use Halifax as well as them. Halifax would probably win by 24 points.
Right, well that puts
That's me putting my rugby league knowledge on the line here, but that's basically how I assess Greece.
Jimmy's got a great point for young people getting to our game watching that type of things, but for the purists, it is an hard watch.
I think Greece are a bit better than that.
When would England football ever play against Kidderminster? That standard of
Well, San Marino, you know, they do it at times. But what do you do in those games? You fill the stadium with young people. If that was a chance to do it, really. There'll be people. If any kid who's been to that game, like we've said, Dom Young is becoming very quickly an absolute superstar, and the kids who've left that game will be wanting.
You probably dummies, but you are putting him in that bracket, and you have to defend better, and you have to yardage carry better. When you're in the top league in the world, which is the NRL, then they go, the penny stool is set, and they go, well, are you kidding? You know, that is even more pressure now on him going back.
I know, and I think for some of us like myself who don't watch an awful lot of NRL, we're gonna, and if it's, I said myself, the criticism of his defence, we're going to get to see it now, because when we get to the business end, even against the PNG and then hopefully we kick on and play either Tonga or Samoa, and then hopefully we kick on and play the final, we're going to see, and he's probably raring to show.
And they'll be spotting him up like you've never seen.
If Newcastle are unsure about the defence, this is a chance to show.
I'm going to throw one in here, Mick, on England. If you get... I watched Samoa. I'm going to tell you in a minute. You're obviously going to...
Samoa versus France, yes.
Wow. That's the first time, second time in the World Cup that I've watched it thinking, oh my God. The halfback who, after the England game, was slaughtered.
All right.
He is absolutely the real deal. His defence is better than his attack, and I've never said it about an halfback. He defends he's smashing everybody, and he's standing over them. 2 minutes later, he's beating 4 players and putting people through holes. His kicking game will marvellously better than it's been. He will ping it ball everywhere. His competitiveness is beyond belief. Do England? We've gone smooth, haven't we? We've gone on the skateboard and everything's lovely. Got 3 great results. Beat Samoa. Finished off by beating Greece by 90. We're all high-fiving in crowd. George Williams dies with Dom Young with Congreve. They've had an absolute slaughtering of 2 weeks after that first England game. That half-back said publicly, wow, we have been absolutely slaughtered from pillar to post. Even saying, why don't they go home? I read a piece on Willie Poaching, I don't know if you read it. Willie Poaching's turned up to training camp because he was that, and he's gone to try and help him. And they've gone, Willie, get off, what are you doing here? Well, Willie said, well, my dad started the Samoan, this is how my tradition, and they won't have Matt Parrish sent him away. This is how alarmed people were after the first game. I find that a bit weird, but I'd like to see all the stories of that one.
Apparently they've allowed Willie to... They've allowed him to...
Oh, they allowed him now?
Yeah,
they sent him away, didn't they?
At first they did, and then... But yeah,
so,
you're right.
So they've slaughtered, but now, going into these games now, would you rather be England with their mentality that everything's... I know Sean Wayne won't allow that.
Yeah, well, you won't allow that.
But it happens, it's natural as sports people to think we've all been playing well, pat back, or...
I don't think it will be.
Samoa going into it now with this determined saying, F you, and F you, we're going to show.
I'll be honest, Craig, I think Samoa are more dangerous than England at this moment in time.
That's what I would win for.
I know Sean Wayne said post-match there'll be more changes for the game against Fiji or Wales, but this is because ultimately he's used the 2 games against France and Samoa, against France and Greece as, well, we'll have not like you say, we're on the skateboard relaxing, but to give people game time and let's have a look at everybody.
But Samoa just played that. Did they step up that much? It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Well, it comes
Craig,
back
they
down
got
to...
humiliated.
It comes back down to...
Yeah.
It comes back down to the way the fixture's set up, didn't it? So they've had that hammering off England. England have caught them cold, and they've gone, right, let's get down to business.
But JP and them always say they'd rather have the bad start and then you come.
Yeah, but I don't, at the same time, I think credit where credit's due to Sean Wayne. What you've just said, I totally understand your point. And if Samoa get past Tonga and we end up playing them again, it adds a certain extra narrative to the story. But Sean Wayne won't be letting any of them. He's picked a team, and he's picked number one quality over anything. He's about competitiveness. So I'm not worried. I am worried about Samoa and Tonga. I have been since the start of when England play him, and even PNG's not going to be walking the park. But he won't let that happen. That won't be the reason why England lose to them if they do, in my opinion.
Because that's the one that I like. What I'm thinking now, they've got the bit in the teeth. And Gary Etherington said when he came here for the meeting, I didn't tell you guys. He said that I'm happy with playing Samoa in first because I don't like to play him after that.
Yeah, you did. You said that after.
Did I say it? He said it to me.
And I said, if you think a lot of that Samoa team is sorry for the ones who are in there. Their most highest rated players play for Penrith. Yeah. Probably harsh towards some of them, but in general, most of their best players played for Penrith. They played a game a week and a half before they flew over. They were the last team. They were the last team to fly over and get most of the squad over. So they were last. Australia had some Penrith players. New Zealand did, and another team did. I apologise off the top of my head. They've not played. The Penrith players didn't play for the first game or so. They've now playing and now getting into the team. They've had to play from a week and a half. Getting used to conditions. They've had to play a week and a half. The last flight over. All that does make a difference. So that all got ignored because England played so well. And I was saying, no, don't ignore that because it does make a massive difference. Jet lag does exist. Yeah. Effort, tiredness does exist. Fatigue. All that fatigue does exist. So if they're coming in, I think they got 1 or 2 training. They didn't do a practice match. They had 1 or 2. They had 1 or 2 days to practice before playing England. Week, England were always going to win that first match. They should have.
Well, you know what's funny though?
You're confident. The bookies weren't. Everyone had Samoa as favourites.
And do you know what the funny thing is now? You look at it, saying what we've said there. You're looking at the way it's turned round, the way England have had the 3 victories. We aren't going to. You'll go on to that in a minute. We aren't got a bad draw, considering. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting.
We've dodged quite a few of the bullets that you don't be getting in quarterfinal.
Because it's a England home World Cup.
I think we've got probably the toughest one apart from.
Are you kidding me?
Out of who we could possibly...
Well, let me go on to that.
Australia, New Zealand, Tonga and Samoa are the 4
Yeah, we were never going to play them, ever.
No, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying about it. It's just
what Craig's saying, Joel, ultimately, is because...
Out of them second place, we possibly have the second hardest match.
Yeah, in terms. Yeah, but
Well,
it's
let
on
me
about
do it.
overall.
Let me preview what the coming games are.
So yeah, we've done England. We can talk a little bit about where Sean Wayne's potentially going to
Mick, who's
change
going
it.
to play wing for England? Sorry, I wanted one off you straight. Who plays then now? Tommy Mac, Ryan Hall, or thingy.
think-
Tommy Mack and Dom Young, it's
Yeah.
nailed on. It's
Oh,
not
is that
even,
it?
it's not
Yeah,
even
well,
up for
I
debate.
I think you can't drop Dom Young. You can't.
I think so, and I can only assume that.
So it's like I said last week. It's between because Dom Young has been so prolific. He's actually taken
He's
himself
gone
out of the
from
equation. Yeah, the equation now for Sean Wayne is Makinson or Hall.
Wow.
And that's why I thought it was interesting with putting Tommy Mack at fullback. But I think because he played Tommy Mack at fullback, it showed to me that I'm assuming he's already picked him as his winger with Young, because it was almost like give Ryan another chance.
Is that not to rest Sam though? Because I said to you, I
no,
thought Sam had struggled to get 6 games.
Totally to rest Sam,
Yeah,
but he didn't.
yeah.
He didn't rest Sam and put Tommy on the wing and put Wellesby at fullback.
Isn't it unbelievable that he's picked Sam, which he's got his loyalty and respect and love for, probably knowing that Sam couldn't get through? Because I did say to you,
You did. You said he
through.
wouldn't do all 6.
And now you're looking 3 games coming up and you're thinking, can Sam's body get through 3 intense games in 3 weeks? And if he can't, do you go Wellesby or do you go Tommy Makinson?
Yeah, interesting. And he's given himself that option now because, as we all know, he knew Ryan Hall could do a job. So now he doesn't. It's not a simple case of it. If Sam pulls up after this game, he don't have to. He's got 2 options now, hasn't he? He's got 2 options. He can put
And do you know
Tommy
what?
into fullback. But would you,
We did a thing about fullbacks. The reason I'm even saying Tommy Mack is I rang up this week and I'd like I'm trying to use the word. Is it an empathy or
Epiphany.
So I rang up a coach and I said, I've got this. It's swishing in my mind and I can't get it out. He's like, well, he knows me backwards. Like, here we go again. I said, I'm watching the best fullback in the world at the moment, and he don't play round back. What do you mean? I said, well, watch Tedesco. He ain't come round back of a play. I said, he's playing like Jack Walker in 17 before they tried to change that to a round back player. I said, we should have some work on other fullbacks. We got Joe to get it for me, the Manly fullback. I can't say it.
Yeah, Turbo Tom, yeah.
Come round back of a play. So then I got some footage up. I rang Andy Dodds. I said to Dodds, his dad, I said, here, am I watching things here? So I've, just to explain to people,
Latrell.
The only player you float in rugby league is your fullback. Everything else matched up. So you float it. You get you? Mm-hmm. It's like the pawn on the chessboard. He can go where he wants. So we looked at Tedesco's points of return, and when he does, he's coming through the middle, non-stop every single set. Okay? He's hitting inside shoulders, he's arriving here. If he did a ball, you'd go like that. One area that he's not doing, he's not going round back at place. And so the Daryl Powell cast 17 play, where you get to a point and everything's round the fullback, we could call it the Richie Mindle play, we could call it the Jake Connor play. Does that happen in Australia? Not as much, because they're saying, as we asked the coach, he goes, well, that's easy, I can tell you the answer. We want the fullback. He said his fullback at his club. He wants him creating on every single play. He doesn't want him on a big play round back. He thinks that's old-fashioned. So I'm like, he goes, how can you do that week 6 again? Because it's about fatigue. So you don't want to be playing to a point and making it all slow. And I'm watching him. Let's have another look. So what my argument is he's making 250 metres. So the props must come off field and go, we love you, son. You are brilliant. Because they appreciate...
Beep.
No, do you know what I'm saying? They appreciate what he's doing. He's going... Yeah. Jack Walker in 17 played like that, and I can remember Leeds lads, Danny Maguire and all saying, he's brilliant because he takes more carries than forwards. But we've been trying to make Jack into Jake Connor for 3 years. Does the modern game allow a Tommy Makinson to be good because he's probably got that in him?
Yeah.
Ethan Ryan at KR, I thought there were 3 games to go. They played Ethan, he got man at match on 2 at fullbacks. And I'm Ethan's not a play round back player.
It's the modern way, isn't it?
But what he's doing is just, I wonder how many penalties they could do a stats on what Tedesco gets for his team 6 against, because he's that quick at play at ball.
Yeah.
You imagine you being a forward, 20 minutes in, and Tedesco's picking third carry up and win.
Well, that's it, yeah. That's the game changer.
You wouldn't see Myler do it, Jimmy.
No, he's old school, yeah.
You wouldn't see Myler pick any carry up to go and take yardage in the middle of a set.
Yeah. And he's a different player too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what? Are we going that way?
I think the game is...
This top coach said, you won't see a full-back. He goes, you dream of what a technical coach would say, which one of them said it to me, I goes, F off. He should be able to do both. I went, I couldn't tell you who said that before. He should be able to do both. I'm like, come on. You've got a Superman. You've got Billy Slater, maybe, you know. But would you say the game of the change of the fullbacks forever going to be changed?
Well, that's the new school, yeah.
But you're saying it's been checked. I think you're behind the ball, son. I think it is changed. If you look at the NRL, it is changed.
I'm saying I'm not behind the ball. I'm saying this. I'm stating the facts.
Like that. You didn't like.
It's not about
I'm
egos.
saying it has changed. It's not about egos. I'm saying it has changed.
Yeah.
Your statement.
It's not changing our comp, has it, Joe?
Yeah, it needs to, because all our game is all about, like you said, Tuilai Hay has been moved to fullback. That wouldn't happen in NRL.
Don't you know?
It wouldn't, because it's Jake Connor playing fullback. Won't happen unless Jake learns to run every time.
That's what I'm saying.
All the top fullbacks. We used it early on in the season. I think it's brilliant. You call them as a thing like triathletes, aren't they? The triathlete, they're absolute animals of men. Support play but support play down the middle and all tough running. Like you said, you've got Trebojevic, you've got Latrell. Latrell does it now. Actually, learned a bit more behind the back. Latrell can do a lot of it all. Tedesco, all of the top ones now. That's why they want to play Suaalii in at fullback, because he's a 6'4" athlete who can run.
You said to me before, Tommy Mack's got a chance of playing at fullback. You'd think Maddie's played about 4 times in his career or whatever, or early doors he did a bit. But looking at the way the game's going, do we need a fullback who can give us 250 and creating penalties, creating quick plays, creating that 3-on-2, 2-on-1 quick plays?
I've got one for you.
How are we going to build up? Sam likes the big play around the back, doesn't he? Sam's efficient. People say, yeah, but he's still best at that. What this guy said to me on Wednesday, no one wants that. We're in about you,
Yeah.
Who's won?
Who's
Who's won the Super League 4 years in a row?
St. Helens.
Who for the last 3 years has had what we're describing?
Correct. No, they haven't. You're wrong. Cooch plays around the back.
For the last 2 years, it's been Wellesby.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, Cooch historically played round the back, and Wellesby's got a pass.
He's got, but
I don't think
Wellesby's
so does Tedesco, so does Latrell. They still play behind the back.
I think Wellesby does it, but I think Wellesby, I think Wellesby doesn't pick and roll every set. I think he does do a bit of more of the football. And he might be in the modern day.
I think that's the modern.
He might be for his answer.
He's developing it.
Wellesby's
he might be the answer.
Wellesby's like a Ponga type, like a little bit of both.
Interesting though, isn't it, that? Do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a good
well, he's got his options for
Should have said
Wayne
the last 4 years.
Because who's your fullback at Bradford?
Who's our fullback at Bradford? Bradford. Bradford.
For next year?
Jack Walker.
No, this year, sorry, you know what I'm saying.
Elliot Kay, but he's now left to Batley.
Elliot probably played that role, wouldn't he? What he a yardage man?
Yeah. Elliot was very much old school, but, you know.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Elliot's... we had Billy Jowett as well, but he was out injured. We've had a real tough year. We had Brandon Pickersgill for a couple of games. He then got injured.
Well, while we're on it then...
It's been a very tough year for Bradford on the injury front.
I rang Jack at 12 o'clock and we were laughing like, oh, Jack was screaming. That's where I like to play. They've tried to change me into this player.
Well, that was it. Watching him in the academy, he was there supporting every time. That's why he scored so many tries in the academy. The amount of times Cameron Smith set him up in the academy, that's how he played it. Yeah. But going on, while we're on it now then, how do we see England lining up with fullback and the two halves for? Because I'll hold my hands up. I know our opponents have been, weak, but George Williams I think has been great. So how do we think? Do we think it's going to be Sam, George and Jack? Sam at fullback, George and Jack, no questions? Or do we think Sneedy was superb against Greece?
He was my man of the match, was Mark Sneedy.
So how we saying?
I got slaughtered for playing Sneedy before Wellesby, didn't I? I'm not making that mistake again.
I think the last few weeks I think it's only secured that it's going to be obviously Wellesby, Williams, Sam back round the back,
Sam at fullback,
wingers, Matt.
I just meant those three really. Yeah.
I don't think there's any debate. I don't think there's much.
Well, the reason I ask is because I thought Sneedy had such a good game against Greece, and I believe that. With no disrespect to PNG, I think going forward, if we're to have a chance against the Aussies or the Kiwis, if it comes to it, And even Samoa Tonga, I think we need an absolutely bang-on kicking game, and I think only Sneed can provide that. So I feel for us to get the ball in the right place.
Can you get on your comments? Because I put that first game, I got stuck.
I had a win, son. I just didn't have Georgia.
I must have left you alone.
I still disagree with
every
that.
Wellesby fan coming on absolutely roasting me.
Yeah, because you said he couldn't play half. That was your
your. You started more at half.
So that's my reasoning.
I don't think we do need that bang of a kicking game. I might be mad.
Against the Aussies in New Zealand, I don't see how we can compete with them if we don't have it.
Because we match them in yardage.
Let me finish from our first team. If you look at it, Ackers has made a good play. He'll play. We had Mickey and off the bench. Ackers, if Ackers played, now it's probably reverse. I'm looking at Ackers. Do you not think so?
No.
They're raving about Ackers, aren't they?
No, but Mickey
he's
Max
picking the ruck up. He's picking the ruck up
off the bench. I think he's secured himself a bench role.
Yeah, but he likes to play a forward who can play hooker off bench, doesn't he? Well, he likes them 4 forwards.
You've only got to look at his selections. Sean's very old school. He goes at 4 forwards on
But Mickey Max,
and to be fair,
one of them who can play. Morgan Knowles can pick and roll, play hooker, and so can Victor the Victor. So I don't think he will play too much.
Against your Tongan, Samoa's, Australia, New Zealand, you know it's going to be intense for 80 minutes. You need that impact off the bench. You need them forwards.
I think Mickey Max, I don't think that's
right, Mickey in mind, I'm saying, does he as
who was saying, man, I'm with Joe. I still think he's going to go Sam,
Williams and Wellesby.
George and Wellesby. Do we all think that's still the case?
I agree.
Sean is historically, he's very loyal, isn't he?
He is.
The one thing you can't name at Sean Wayne, and nobody can, he's probably the most loyalist coach. I think even his selection, and he got some boot for it. He were rolled out the barrel at Wigan, didn't he? And he goes, we're going to take Mickey Mack at 33, Sam Tompkins at 34, whatever it is. But they're going to play in my squad because I trust them players. He's not going to change now, is he?
I don't think so.
And do you know what? Do we think this? If we play quarters, we play semis, we get knocked out. I said this before. We get knocked out at semis. After what we've watched, are we happy or as? Did you not notice all the pundits kept saying we're going to win it, we can win it, and they've changed. They're now saying we can win it.
But let's look at who we've played. Let's look at who we've played.
I still don't think we beat the Aussies. That's the problem.
Let's look at who we've played. There needs to be realisation. We've said Greece are a high-end League One, so people are looking at 94-4. Yes, we're going to win. Well, I tell you what, you watched it last night as well as me. Samoa. Absolutely. You know what? Let's do the quarterfinals. We've got Australia, Lebanon at Huddersfield on Friday. It's England against Papua New Guinea or Wales.
Where's that
at? Wigan.
Wigan, Saturday.
So that's the Saturday game at 2:30. The evening game, we're off to Hull and it's New Zealand against Fiji. I'm like in a curry house looking at starters. My mouth's full of saliva because these are the fixtures where you're probably looking, there's going to be less than 20 points in each one of them.
You don't like that in curry house because you're on your 5th curry and there's that's tough.
I'm just saying, Craig, when I look at that menu and I see starters and my mouth starts to fill up like Billy does when he opens.
And you've not even said the best game because Tonga Samoa is.
And that's it.
Where's that at?
That's at Warrington on Sunday. Please.
I could get please. Mr. Moran,
are you taking us, Craig?
He watches show sound. He don't tell me. I know because he sometimes quotes some stuff. So, Mr. Moran,
Simon, do you want these?
Oh no! Whoa! We were commentary. We're going to do a commentary.
Well, ask Simon if
we said no. We said we're going to do one, and we're going to stick to our word.
That's for one.
Let's do a game and pick it now for people who love the show. And we'll run it. We'll go in the living room. Show me towers. Put it on. Mick can commentate and we'll punditry for him. Sam, you get what the schedule is for them 4 games.
Well, Sam don't know. We can't decide now. We'll have to have a look.
Okay.
I mean, we want to go to that one in the flesh. Let's get tickets to go watch Tonga against Samoa.
I'm the same.
We need to see that.
I'm not being funny, Craig.
I'd love to comment that one if we could. I don't. Obviously, it depends on.
I'll do stadium broadcast.
I'll be at Warrington on Sunday, mate. No offence to North Yorkshire.
Warrington on Sunday.
You've blown us out.
I'm not blowing you out.
You've blown us out.
The World Cup comes over to this country, Joe, once every decade. So I'm not being funny.
You've blown us out for the big commentary.
I love the hospitality here in North Yorkshire. You know, show me towers. You've been very kind. Bacon and sausage sandwich.
Well, he dropped you like a dead panther.
He has.
What are you on about?
Hey, he can't sing for his supper. He won't look at you.
Fix his gimmick, Brian Bevan sweet.
Hey, can I say something there?
He hasn't.
Can I say something here? And I've just realised it, and I'm actually intrigued.
You can do them all, son.
No. So, all people who are listening to the show and listening to the build-up of this week, we're all excited. But we've got 4 England fans, and none of us have said we're going to England game. People all go, yeah, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at maybe New Zealand, Fiji, and I apologise to being an England fan, but none of us have said we're going to England game at Wigan.
Well, if you give me one pick, I'm going that one.
Joe, one pick.
Tonga Samoa.
You've got to support England, Papua New Guinea. How we not?
Oh, skipped out there.
How's that not the game you want to go to?
Can people stop saying
the best
Papua New Guinea? John Keir might have a bigger shot than Sheffield against Wigan tonight.
Tonga v Samoa would be the best game ever to sit and commentators all together have a laugh. It'd be the most competitive one of the weekend.
I want to see
per se. I don't want to.
Sam, could we commentate
England, Papua
on the England game? We got a few beers in the.
It's 2:30 on Saturday, Sam.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Afternoon sesh.
Thoughts?
It's his availability. He works weekends.
Right.
I work weekends.
So the only one we could do is a Friday.
Which is Bielsa's.
I can't do Friday.
Oh, forget about it. Sorry about that.
Well,
I really want to
I'm
do
going
one.
to semi-final because I'm not missing Australia, New Zealand either if it all goes to plan.
That's what I'm saying, Craig.
There's no loyalty in this show, is there? There's no loyalty in this show.
There's no loyalty.
We need Sean Wayne leading
We're
this
all
show.
rugby league aficionados. Well, the only way we can do it is.
But an aficionado would be what the fans would love to watch us commentate. It'd be unbelievable.
Well, we'll do the commentary from the ground.
But we can't do that.
We can.
Anyway,
They won't let us do it.
They won't let us do it. Of course they won't.
That's a pity because I would have loved to have commentated on even if it's not the England. Like you said, could we? Are you definitely going? Fitz, you got your tickets?
No, I haven't got my tickets. I've got my media pass, Craig. Tonga versus Samoa.
You've never had your media pass without getting chicken and chips and all that. So don't lie. No. There's no way you're getting a media pass. The English media are scared of your reputation as being one of the top Andrew Voss of this country. They don't want you in some. I've been there when you've walked up them stairs and they look over and they go, "Oh, he's here, Gledel. We're here, we're giving you..."
It's true,
I know it is, I know I'm cheating. But let me tell you, we're giving you a lifeline here. Your mates are going to get you to... You imagine if you commentate on one of these games and IMG are watching and they go, "Oh my God, he is...
We can have this discussion outside of the show. That's what I will say.
Fans, let's get all the comments.
Everybody wants to sit with a beer watching us on Saturday. Come on,
I tell you what.
Some of you working Saturday and Sunday. So the only one of you could do is Friday.
Mick can't do Friday.
Well, you said you could produce from anywhere. Is there not a button? Could you not set us up and then you produce from...
No, don't trust us.
Right, anyway, we can discuss
seven likes in.
4 grand camera equipment.
You've been calling every player on them.
Look, so these are the World Cup quarterfinals. Friday at Huddersfield, Australia against Lebanon. That's Group B against Group C. England against Papua New Guinea or Wales. We know Wales have to win by 38 points or more tonight. Might be a tough ask for John Keir.
Should we go through them all one by one?
It's New Zealand against Fiji at Hull, Tonga against Samoa at Warrington, and then the semi-finals, just quickly, it'll be either Australia, Lebanon versus New Zealand, Fiji at Leeds, Ellen Road, a week on Friday, and then it's the big one at the Emirates. Ticket sales are now over 40,000. It'll be England or PNG and Wales versus Tonga, Samoa. So there is, based on what I've seen, Tonga, Samoa. I know Tonga are favourites looking at the current odds when I had a little look, but you could not bet against Samoa the way they played at Warrington against France last night. And don't be surprised if you're at the Emirates, it's England against Samoa Part 2.
I'm going to wrap up the full 80 here.
Beware the room.
We're going to roll straight into the 10 minutes.
We've not even previewed the games.
We're going to roll into the 10 minutes of Jimmy Mack getting us the prices of them 4 games. And we'll preview the games on a separate 10 minutes. So for now, I'll let you, and then we'll roll straight into Jimmy's bookies. I've got a 4-timer. Obviously I can't make you lads can bet. The 4-timer we've got here could be the best bet of the century because I think there's a 4-timer sticking out, which Jimmy Mack might produce.
I'll get the odds on it for you.
He'll get the odds on it for you.
Just quickly on that, we touched on it earlier. We were ushering people gently towards a bit of value at Dom Young being top try scorer, 8-1.
I had Brandon.
I said Dom won from week one.
Even the second week, he was still sevens. Now he's top of the charts with 8 tries. Addo Carr is chasing his tails, 2 behind him. You can have either of them at even money. So you've got to. You'd say there's no value now, but anyone who did get on Dom Young at 8-1 will be sat there with the betting slip, thinking we've got every chance here if we can get one in against PNG.
I don't really bet, and like I say, I wish I'd have put 20 quid on it, but hey-o.
Wrap this up, Michael, thank you, and then we can get on to the...
So yeah, it's been the full 80 minutes on Show Me The Money Rugby League TV. Sorry we didn't really get too much Super League and Championship discussion. We will do that once the World Cup's
Plenty of time in
But
season.
I will give you an exclusive if you've watched right to the end of the show. So they had the meeting, the RFL with the Championship clubs, and the Summer Bash is not going to be going to Blackpool because it costs too much money. So there is an exciting new venue for the Summer Bash.
And not at Headingley, it's a new venue.
Yeah, it's not at Headingley.
It's a new venue.
I can't tell you where it is. It's a little bit further afield than Headingley, but
I can't stick with Carlisle.
Doncaster or York.
Sheffield.
I can't really say, but
It can't be at Sheffield.
I could probably.
1,700 seats.
I'll give you one clue. I could probably walk from here and get there by 5 o'clock.
York.
That's what we asked for.
York. We said it.
I never said it.
Go on, bring it to York.
I'm not saying. All I'm saying is.
Here.
All I'm saying, and don't take this as rugby league's parochial nature, but they had the meeting and the.
You didn't name watch this show. We did a full meeting on taking it to York. You didn't even say that. You forgot that.
We did a full show.
So why would you not turn out to York, drink your
It's got best day session.
Is this? Hear me out here. I don't want to be critical, and I won't name the clubs, but this comes across as like the most tin pot rugby league thing ever. When you're in the meeting and you're deciding, are we going to Blackpool, which the fans want, or we're going somewhere else? And you've got chairman A. Well, every time we've gone to Blackpool, we only take 40, 50 fans, and it costs us 11 grand. Chairman B, well, we took 170 fans in 2019, and it cost us 6.5 grand. So sadly, because unless you're a Bradford or a Featherstone or an Halifax with a large fan base who sells the tickets and gets the volume to make money out of it, sadly, the majority of the Championship clubs don't make money from Blackpool. So that is why it is not going back to Blackpool. They can't afford it. And we are in austerity times.
So you said regrettably, and
I wanted to go back to Blackpool, Craig.
I know you do, because you like the Kiss Me Kit and the donkey, you like the Kiss Me Quit hat, you like your candy floss and your eyes.
I'll be honest. The best thing about Blackpool for me is all the rugby league fans, they meet down by the Pop World, they meet by the Pop World, by the walkabout, they have a few beers. I'm very professional if I'm calling a game, I'm on the soft drinks, and then it's that lovely walk along the front. You go past the donut stall, 4 for 4 quid or whatever, and then you go to the famous £1 burgers, £1 hot dogs, and I'm like, through there. And then, like you say, you're right, Craig, it's
so this time
for someone like me who's into the flashing lights.
We said it historically. Blackpool. Listen,
I'm gutted. It's not going. This is the last ever Summer Bash. I wanted to go out with a bang in Blackpool.
Understandable.
It's not going to happen.
Mick, historically, when you're a kid from Doncaster, if you went left, guess where left was? Bridge Scarborough.
Yeah.
If you made the magic lights of Blackpool, son, you was absolutely in authority. When we used to see them Blackpool lights come in, Dan would say they're here, and you would be trembling in car. Yeah. Honestly, it was just absolutely as a kid.
But
if we're going to say,
bring it to a new crowd.
York on a summer's day with 2,000 bars and restaurants, with rugby league fans going into a town like York, historic town, where they can stay a day early, they can go and see all the sites. We're not looking at, no offence to Blackpool, because it's, we're not looking at the Kiss Me Quit, we're not looking at the Bandits, we're not looking at the Toffee Apple. We're looking at some of the best monuments and best historic places in the country, if not the world. We've got to change. It makes sense. We come on.
It's the last
Draft beers, historically, it'll be unbelievable. They'll have the best team. They'll have the best thing ever. We said it 2 years ago. We'll have the best time ever.
The only problem is, Mick hasn't actually said York, and Nigel's done a deal. It's actually at Bradford.
Bradford is that way.
All I've said is it's a little bit further than Headingley. a little bit further than Headingley. That's the.
Oh, it's Bradford. We're in
And I have
Bradford.
got a nice penthouse in York if somebody wants to see it for the weekend.
I've been very clever and cryptic, but it's not for me to announce it because the RFL have to announce it themselves. So I'd be told off if I was to blab on here. But what I can say is, because this has come directly from the clubs are saying they can't afford to lose the money in Blackpool. So sadly, Blackpool has bit the dust. And without further ado, we'll see you next week on the Full 80 Minutes.